Jerry, thank you. Thank you for the welcome. Thank you to WACOS for the opportunity to be back into Western Australia. And given that I noticed on television last night that we're competing with Sexpo, thank you to all of you for being here this morning. I wasn't sure what sort of an audience we would have. I might say also, I come from the East, so my opinion doesn't matter, but I've just sat and listened to your Premier. And he sounds like a real bloke. We could do with a few more real blokes in politics, I think. So let's hope he does what he says he did. But I wonder how many of you can remember the first time you saw this image. There are a few times in history when it's possible to quite specifically point out events or images that have shaped individual lives and occasionally even the whole of human society. And for me and for many other people, it was this image, the first time we saw our Earth from space, that had that impact. Seeing this beautiful little blue and white ball sitting in the blackness of space jolted many people into recognising just how fragile was our existence here on spaceship Earth. This image first appeared in 1969 and was one of many words and images created at about that time, which encouraged lots of ordinary people to become much more interested in the future. 1969 was also the year that James Lovelock published the first of his books on the now well-known Gaia hypothesis. It was also the year in which Buckminster Fuller first coined the phrase spaceship Earth in a book which if you haven't read, is worth trying to find. And interestingly, it's also the year in which Friends of the Earth was first created. It's also about the same time that a number of people were thinking of building bomb shelters in their backyards to protect from nuclear fallout or nuclear war. Although interestingly, this image actually is a conventional image which suggests that there are a number of people interested again in doing the same thing, perhaps based on environmental change and terrorism, and perhaps things like the hurricanes around the world. Prior to the 1970s, most people's interest in the future was limited to their own and perhaps their family's future. But images like this one contributed to making many people realise just how interconnected we were on our small globe, and just how even small actions in particular places can have profound implications everywhere else. This caused an increased sales of many books of various kinds, and the creation of a whole raft of organisations, including the one of which I'm chair. It also spawned a whole lot of television series and movies, including my personal favourite, The Jetsons. The profession of futurist didn't even exist in the 1970s, and now we're regularly asked to open conferences like this. A futurist is a little bit like an archaeologist, or perhaps, for those who watch television, more like a sort of crime scene investigator. It's just that our particular area of interest is the future. It just hasn't happened yet. But just as a forensic scientist takes great care to closely examine every aspect of a crime scene in order to build up a picture of what's happened, so a futurist looks at all aspects of the current world and assesses their implication for the future. Forensic scientists, however, are limited to looking at only particularly small and narrow areas. Futurists can and do explore a much wider canvas.